Good morning everyone, how are you today? I'm just removing the rollers that I've set here. I'm about to show you one of the looks, a similar look, or my version I should say, of a runway show that was in New York last week. One of the things I've observed with the runway shows this year is there's a lot of half up and half down here. So the hair that's hanging down is quite loose and just, you know, sort of very casual. And then the half up is some sort of little twist or some little unique feature to the style. And I thought, well, you know, we do a lot of updos, we do a lot of braids on this these demonstrations. I thought it might be quite nice just to come in and just show you something really, really simple. Now, I've set the hair with some hot rollers, and you know, hot rollers are my go-to. They're the quickest way that I can get a curl and a nice guaranteed result. I want to show you just when I get around to the front here, just how I put the hot rollers in, because a lot of people are rather intrigued that I don't use hot roller pins as we know them. I use my long fringe pin like that. So the long fringe pin, if you look at what I do, I actually scratch it on the roller and just push it straight in. Now obviously it's not going to go into the scalp, but when it does hit the scalp, it then slides along the scalp and pushes a nice tight hold onto the roller. Also, I do them underneath as well, so if the hair's a little short and a little bit more layered, I can come in underneath that roller, scratch the roller, and then push that in as well. And that gives another nice tight hold. The reason why I use my rollers like this is purely for the fact that I don't like the roller marks. And sometimes I find when the pins go in and you crunch them around the actual roller itself, it tends to leave a demarcation line. And it's really hard once you've set the hair and you've got a strong demarcation line in there to actually remove it. Okay, so I'm just going to remove the last one. You can see the wind that I put in is actually quite what I would call a traditional straight back wind. So there's nothing terribly posh about it. It's just very traditionally straight back and slightly back on the sides. So once I've set, I'm going to brush through and really, really brush it thoroughly through. So when I brush, I'm not putting any air into it. So it's really important to avoid any sort of too much texture and too much mess and that type of thing in the hair, is to actually control your brushing and brush it thoroughly right through to the ends, but hold it into your hand and really work it through that way. That way I find it sort of less sort of messy, a little bit sort of more controlled, not quite so sort of textured looking. So I'll always come back through at this stage and just pop a little bit of weightless shine spray in the hair. I am using the gold wool one today, but there's a lot of great products out there on the market that would do the same sort of job. So the goal is just to sort of take a little bit of the fluff out and just sort of put a little bit more sort of conditioning back into the ends. Okay, now I'm going to take a comb and I'm just going to work the hairstyle, and we'll start with just take a section through the front, the middle of the eyebrow on both sides. So come right through. How are we going, Vanessa? Anyone there today?
Yeah, we've got lots of people here.
Lots of people here.
A lot of shout outs saying hello. We've got people from the Netherlands. We've got people from New York. They're loving the tips for the hot rollers. So
yes, I think everybody really likes that hot roller idea. Everybody has that problem when they use the hot rollers, and to be honest, one of the reasons why I took that idea on and started to experiment with some other options was purely for the fact that what I found was happening in my salon, for example. My young apprentices obviously are responsible for, you know, keeping the salon organized and all the equipment sort of packed away and so on. But I'm sure everyone agrees that that Saturday morning rush, when you ask an apprentice to find the pins for the hot roller, they can never be found. They just seem to be lost and no one can ever find them. So sort of in lieu of all of that sort of stress and drama on a Saturday morning, I thought there's got to be another way. And when I came up with that idea, I thought, you know, this is actually really good.
Sharon, just a quick question. Do you use any product on the hair before styling?
Yes, I use a thermal styling product. So I sprayed all the hair with a thermal styling spray. And I found that just gives just that little bit of control around the roller as well. I know a lot of people see hot rollers as something that's a little bit sort of old-fashioned, but to be honest, I use everything. And if I've got to do something nice and quick like I had to do today, obviously for me, I'm just going to go straight to the hot roller because I know I can do that a little bit quicker. So you see what I've taken there now? I've taken that oblong shape back to the crown, and I've just placed a small band there. As I put a little bit of sort of oil through there at the same time, I'm just going to just loosen it up so it doesn't look quite so formal, and just a little bit sort of rubbed up so it's not sort of quite as clean looking, just a little bit more texture and softness in that. Okay, so having achieved that, I'll brush that tail through a little bit. Now we're on our way back to New York. I believe from my information given, we're going to be coming back on the 3rd to do a 3-day class at Rockville Centre.
2nd to the 4th.
2nd to the 4th, thank you. And what we have, I believe we only have about 4 more tickets there. So it's a 3-day class that we're doing there. Really creative class. We've been doing this class around the world, I think, pretty much now. And it's a really cool class. So if you're interested in coming to my class, that's the last time we'll be coming to New York or to America, actually, for the rest of the year. That's the end of our tour. And I'd love to catch up with any of you there that haven't been part of my class this year. We've had a wonderful tour of US, and it's really nice just to be coming back in a week or two to complete that final class over at Rockville Centre. So what I'm going to do is just take that side panel. So just notice where it is. It's just a line straight down, pretty much around the top of the ear. I've done what I call a little bit of matting. So matting for me is when I just come in underneath and do a little bit of teasing so I can hold that panel together and it doesn't separate. I'm now going to take it across to the other side. So just behind the ear, on the other side, I'm going to just take it across and pin. Now I'm going to have a little challenge with my pinning on this side because, you know, I'm a girl that loves to have somewhere to pin my pins, and it's not going to be quite so simple that I pin here because I don't necessarily have anything to pin onto. So I'm going to do what I call a crisscross pin and take a long pin, not the shorter one, so just a long pin, and try and, whoops, come in behind that again and just crisscross that bobby pin, just trying to give myself a little bit more grip at the back end. I'll do another one because that didn't quite crisscross either. So there we go, that's going to do it better. So I've taken that across, and I'll just let that little curl just fall into the rest of it. Just sort of break this up ever so slightly. And now I'm going to take this other panel straight down. Nothing terribly, you know, trick about this look, but I just sort of saw it on one of the Instagrams, and I thought, oh, that's a nice sort of something simple, nothing too complicated sort of back that I thought we could work with. So taking that back through across, bringing it down, and taking that right to the opposite side now. Just lift that up a little bit and crisscross that over on that side. So I guess the big thing is to keep this pinning nice. To be completely honest, I'm not a super fan of half up and half down, never have been and never will be, but I do know that we have a request for that in the salon on a daily basis. So, you know, contrary to whether you're a fan of, you know, certain looks, we still have to comply with our clients and make our, you know, dress hair for what our clients want to have and what they want to achieve. So I'll just take that little tail back in there now and just sort of tuck it under because it's actually a little on the short side. And I don't think it actually works quite as nicely with it just cooled down. So I'm now just going to hold that very gently and try and just pull it out a little bit to give me somewhat of a little bit more interest to the back of this. Not so, just sort of, just very gently just pulling it.
We've got people from the UK up at 1 o'clock in the morning watching this.
Oh my God!
And the Netherlands
is it that the time?
Yeah.
Oh my God! Well, it's actually 10 o'clock in Australia time, so we're really pleased that we're actually at a reasonable time today. Normally when we do things, we're sort of at an odd time as well. But we always try really hard to make it work for everybody. It's not so easy, but that's just how it rolls. So
Sharon, just a quick question. Melinda wants to know, she really struggles with flyaways. Any tips for a smooth finish?
Yeah, well, you know, obviously my recommendation always is to start at the very beginning and make sure that the flyaways are actually blow dried flat, before you even get started. So what that means by that is, even before your hot rollers go in, try really hard to prep the hair thoroughly so you don't have those flyaways to contend with. That's also why I use a lot of oil. So I'm just going to tuck this little tail back in underneath here as well. That's my whole plan about using oil. I find the oil will definitely control those, sorry about the teeth guys, will control those flyaways quite nicely. So I like to use the oil just to try and control that as much as possible. So, you know, it's not easy to do, but definitely blow drying it prior to any hot roller setting or tong setting will definitely help you a lot also. So you don't want to sort of set it with flyaways. You want to make sure that it's blow dried really nice. So when you do your sets, that it actually is nice, clean, finished hair. Okay, so that was a little bit of hairspray I'm just working on pulling it a little bit more. I'm not so chuffed with the shape at the moment, so I'm just giving this a little bit of an extra pull just to try and loosen it up. I must say, when I look at runway hair, there's a lot of it that I sort of think, oh, that's just crazy, who would ever wear that? So it takes a little bit for me to find something that I think is workable and doable in the salon. I think this is what's all about, trying to transfer that look or those ideas into a regular consumer sort of finished hairstyle is not necessarily the easiest thing to do. So that's what I was trying to do by just presenting this one to you today, just giving it a little bit more of a consumer take as opposed to the real runway finish.
Sharon, just another question. If hair doesn't curl very well, are there any other tips to giving hair texture? So they're not a big, huge fan of teasing their hair all the time.
Oh, look, I'm not a fan of teasing at all. It's not my go-to preference. Look, you know, it's all about heat tension, heat and cool. So for me, it's all about making sure that when you do curl, that you use enough heat, that you make sure that when you take the curl out, that you actually set it with some with some pin curl clips. So actually clip each curl onto the head and allow it to cool down instead of letting it drop to cool down. That to me is a really big important point. So when you do that, you find that you will get a lot better set other than if you allow it just to drop straight down and not you know, let it sort of cool in its dropped down shape. So to me, it's really important to make sure with that you do, I'll pull that little bit back in there, I'll put a pin in there. Yeah, it's really important that each curl is actually clipped and allowed to cool down in its fixed state. That helps a huge amount. That's better.
Sharon, we've got Cindy on here who's been following you for 30 years.
Oh my God, she's nearly as old as me. So where's Cindy from?
Let me just check.
Gosh.
Sorry, lost it. It's gone right back up, the comment. Sorry, Cindy. Okay.
So it's a little bit of a different back. It's not, you know, your traditional back. I think it was Tom Ford's show that the guys did this at last week. And I just sort of was interesting to see that wrap across as opposed to just the usual little, you know, band in the centre back. Just trying to sort of give a different slant to a half up and half down. But I could see that if you were interested, you could actually continue this through. So actually, you know, I quite like the look of that. So let me just run my fingers through really quickly, and then let's just do an extra little twizz across, and let's take that around. And I think that looks really quite interesting as a back. Does people agree with that? We got a few agreements on that. Yeah. So, you know, just sort of starting off with the idea of a, you know, a half up and half down, you can actually then expand it through. So coming back through the back here and just taking a little extra sort of twist around the lower part, that's just giving us a completely different look to that shape once again. So it's all about just, you know, not settling for what you thought you were going to do, but maybe having a little play. And that's what I do with my work. I'm very open to what might be evolving as I dress hair. I think that's really important, not to just sort of have this fixed idea in your mind and think, oh, it didn't work or it's not what I really want, but to be constantly exploring what it is doing and what's working and what's not, and then be continual about how you might actually, what else you can do with that to make it work even better. So I just need a little pin in there. So we've got our New York class coming up, which we're super excited with. Also very excited to be coming to Germany, but our class unfortunately at this stage is booked out. But we are desperately trying to be able to take a couple of more people in Germany. We're waiting to find out whether we can actually add a couple of extra people to the class, but we probably won't know that for a couple of days. So keep your eye on our website and just see what evolves from there. Also, another thing is we are coming into Rome. I'm not so sure of how the bookings are going there. I believe they are doing very well, but if you are interested in our 2-day class in Rome, which we're super excited about doing, I can't believe I'm going to Rome to do a class. It's like a dream come true. With that in mind, please contact us direct on Messenger, and we can give you the information of the people that are doing the bookings for us down there in Rome. So we've got Rome coming up. And
exciting news for Sydney and Brisbane.
Yes. So hopefully today we might be posting our next classes for next year. I'm just in contact with a company down in Mexico. So all my gorgeous friends in Mexico, I think it won't be too far out that we'll be coming to you to do a boot camp. So hopefully, next year's looking very exciting. We're working really hard on getting all our dates ready. Ireland looking pretty good at this stage. I'm not sure of the dates yet, but that's definitely it's looking very possible. And of course, hoping to get back to London, of course, at some stage as well. So, if you have any locations or academies that you could possibly recommend to us, we're always open to whatever. So what do you think, guys? Do you like the way that sort of evolved?
Yep, getting lots of...
Getting a few possible loves on that?
Sure am.
Just another little pin in there just to pull that in just a little closer. And also just a shout out to everyone in New York. I'm not sure where everybody will be coming from for the event, but in 2 weeks' time, I'm going to be doing the Intercoiffure show in New York at the Waldorf Astoria. What was it called? Astoria. And I'm doing that on behalf of Goldwell US, and I'm so excited. We've been doing some amazing hair pieces. I must say I've been burning the midnight oil working on hairstyles for that. And so that's going to be just something that's so exciting for me. It's like a bucket list tick. You know how you have those lists of your career highlights? That will definitely be going to the top of mine. So I'm looking forward to meeting everyone at Intercoiffure. And also just a shout out for my friends here in Australia, Benny Tognini and Emilio Cataldo. Shush is coming to Sydney in November. And for all the Australian hairdressers out there, this event is beyond amazing, and I would highly recommend you have a good look at Shush. I believe it's somewhere around the 13th and 14th of November. They're bringing the biggest international stars to Australia over a 3-day weekend, and I would really encourage you to go. Nowhere could you see such a fantastic lineup of people that you would see at this event. So if you don't know how to get in touch with Shush, you can message us and we'll refer you on. But definitely have a good look at that. It's an amazing event happening here in Australia in November. So until next week, I think we might be still in Australia next week. Hopefully we can come back to you and do something again for you. And to all you guys that are sitting up, have a good night's sleep. And to all you Aussies, work hard today, and we'll talk soon.